Alrighty, one of those days where I kind of have the heater running a little bit, but when I turn it off, I get too cold. So, anyway, morning, happy Saturday to you guys. Yeah, so as the title said, I'm just kind of filling in the gap. I've been super busy. I'm trying to edit a video right now just to kind of catch everybody up. But I figured it's probably going to be a day or two before that's out, and I figured, well, I might as well say hi, tune in, and maybe catch some of you guys on a Saturday morning. Anyway, how's it going out there? How's everyone doing? I'm gonna pull up the chat here. There we go. Dutch fly fisherman. Hey man, how you doing? It's good to see you, man. Well, I can't see you, but it's good to see you in the comments. I'm doing pretty well. I've been really busy, as I just mentioned, and I'm just playing a little bit of catch up, and I figured I'd do a live just to sort of fill in the gap. But yeah, been working a lot. Hey, Kiersey, raining in Scotland. Hey, that's pretty cool. So my cousin Stephen is in Scotland right now. Him and Jody and Joan and Davis, they're all over there visiting. So I just got some pictures sent to me from him a little while ago. They're sitting down at a restaurant at the moment, and he's like, check out this Highland. You can't really see it, but on the menu there is a photograph of Highland game pie that he's got on the menu. It's 17.95 euros. Rabbit, venison, pheasant, mallard, partridge, pigeon, cooked with blackberries, tarragon, juniper berries, and gin, served with potatoes and vegetables. And then in brackets it says, chew carefully, these are wild animals not farmed, such as the meat may contain shot. Every care has been made to remove it, but unfortunately it's impossible to guarantee that it has all been removed. That's pretty neat. You certainly don't get to see wild animals on any of the menus here in Canada, but that's pretty cool. Anyway, yeah, they're having a good time, and when they come back, we'll probably get together and share some of this elk meat that Lauren gave me. So I've been saving that for when Stephen comes back, and we'll go up to the cabin and share that together. Anyway, hi Margaret Hutchins. Good afternoon to you. Hi Craig. Oh my gosh, Graham Bunn. Hey, we're doing some wiring on our Rambo today. Welcome to stop by. Oh, that's good. Graham, is it your wife that I met? I met somebody's wife in Chemainus that was doing an ambo build, and maybe it's you guys. I'm not sure, but anyway. Hey, thanks, Eric. Yeah, it's one of my homemade shirts. Inside out on purpose, right side inside out. Oh, okay, it is your wife. All right, right on. Oh, that's cool. Well, I'm in town right now. You can probably tell from the background there. You can see the log sort in the just back here. And I keep looking out there thinking it'd be really cool, and maybe I might do this. I might have to get permission because the ferry just kind of comes in right there, but to put on my wetsuit and go to the other side over there, and it looks pretty cliffy on avionics, and it looked like it'd be a pretty fun place to check out. And I'm really looking forward to getting underwater again. Ollie, thank you, man. Yeah, the dive video was awesome. Thank you. Cheers, man. From Cornwall too, UK. Yep. Cheers. That's pretty sweet. Yeah, the diving, you guys, has been amazing. I've been so since then I've done one online course, which is a safety course. It was what I'll do is I'll probably share that in a video, like the next diving video I do. I'll share some of the training and stuff that I've been doing, and I'll provide links to that if anyone's interested. But yeah, I basically did an online course, and then I'm trying to currently sign up for an in-person course. It's been a bit of a challenge because there's not too many people offering them. Well, there's a bunch of people offering them, but they're all full, and I'm kind of on a waiting list for a couple different ones. But the scheduling's, I'm just trying to get it done within a short period of time. Some of the options are available to me after, like, later in May, mid-May and later in May, but I don't want to sign up for any of those because I'm probably going to be in Indonesia by then. So that's also very exciting. But yeah. Anyway, I'm trying to get the free diving training done before I leave for that trip, and so hopefully it all works out. And if it doesn't, well, it's not the end of the world, but it would be fun to get that out of the way too. Almost went down the wrong hatch there. Hi, Catherine. You're in Prince Rupert, BC, City of the Rainbows. Good to see you in here. That's pretty cool. I'd like to visit Prince Rupert at one point. It's a bit of a trek, I know, but it looks like a pretty cool place to go check out. And while I'd go up there, it'd be nice to check out, like, Haida Gwaii, that sort of thing too. Yeah, Steve B8, when am I going to start selling my trademark inside out shirts? What I would do, so it depends. What I would need to do is line up a manufacturer to take the design and make them for me. At that point, I would probably also maybe do some, like, graphics and stuff on it, and I don't want to do it just yet because I got so much on my plate, but I want to work on some kind of graphics or logo or something like that for the channel. And in a way, I like the idea of doing merch that way, because then it's not just going onto any shirt. It's like, it's a shirt that I designed, and so it's going to be a little bit more personal. And I'd like to do, like, ideally, like, different body types with the designs as well. Do both, like, men and women, and make it so it fits different body types. But we'll see. That's it's a bit of a project, and that'll be something that I'll have to kind of sit down and do. I might do that, like, next winter or something. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. But it'd be pretty fun to do that. Judy Quinn, do I keep my dive equipment in my van or store it in shop? Hello from Christmas Valley, Oregon. Christmas Valley, that's an interesting name. Wow. Do you guys celebrate Christmas there, like, every day of the year? That's that's kind of neat. To answer your question, Judy, I do keep it in my shop. So it's that's where it is right now. It just wouldn't be practical, given the size of my van, to carry it in here full time. But there's going to be some trips which I'll do. I'm actually going to be putting it in my van probably later today or tomorrow. I'm going into Vancouver for a little while, and I'm going to do some diving while I'm over there. Well, at least I imagine so. So I'm going to be bringing that with me. It does take up some space, so what I might do is I might drop it off at a friend's place just for a little while until I'm ready to get in the water. But this is kind of one of those things where I'd be like, it'd be nice to have a roof rack, like a box up on the roof, but at the same time, I really like my solar panels up there. And the roof box that I've imagined to put on my roof is a total custom built roof box, which I figure would probably cost me in around $2,000 to $3,000 to build. So it's kind of an expensive thing to take on, and I don't know, it's just not a priority, but it would be great to have it up there, because then I could just put all that stuff up in there. But so yeah, I store it in the shop. I'm going to be getting a dehumidifier for the shop, so that way when I come back from a dive and I want to go hang it up, I can go rinse it off, clean it off, bring it back to the shop, hang it up. And the dehumidifier is just going to help to get the moisture out of the suit and the space of the shop quickly, because I don't want to have you know, a wetsuit just hanging up in the shop over there and have all that moisture going into the air. It's no good for the space. So dehumidifier is in order for that. Then again, there will be trips where I can take it with me in the van, maybe go up island. Maybe this summer it might be a little easier to do this, but I could come back from a drive and just sort of hang it up outside in the shade, and ideally it dries out and I can stay out there for a few days or maybe a week and do multiple dives at the same time. So that'd be really great. Yeah, but that being said, there's so much on the go. Like I'm just kind of like, I've got the shop space currently that I've been working on. It's kind of the new video that's coming out that I'm working on right now. It's basically getting that shop space sorted out, painted, and all that kind of thing, which is great. I finally finished the paint in that space, and there's some loose ends to do in there. There's going to be like some baseboard work, capping the doors, maybe fixing up one of the window frames, and then just a little bit more touch-up paints. I really want to get a big counter to go in there, so I've been keeping an eye out on different like things like Marketplace and Craigslist to see if something pops up for that. But I think it's about a 10-foot long counter that I'm gonna need in there, so quite a long piece. I could buy one brand new. I checked them out at Home Depot. They're $200, but I don't know if I want to spend that money. After I bought that GoPro, I've been really tight with money at the moment, so I've been trying not to spend as much, but I've got some expenses that I just kind of have to pay for right now. The training for the diving was one of them, and there's another course that I signed up for, which is it's more of like a psychology course online. That was something that my mom got me for like my birthday, which is coming up. It's not yet, but it's later this month. And then my trip to Bali is coming up, so I need money for that. Yeah. Oh, that's cool, Camilla. Yeah, your daughter's a fashion designer. Knits sweaters and sews them together inside out. That's pretty neat. Yeah. That's pretty cool. And Catherine, you saw 3 rainbows at the same time. Yeah, earlier Catherine Sponge was saying that she's up in Port Renfrew and there's lots of rainbows up there. That's pretty neat. And Haida Gwaii is a must visit, she says. Yeah, I definitely think it'd be a really cool place to visit. They've got a massive deer population up there. This might trigger some people, but they got a really big Sitka deer population on Haida Gwaii, and the hunting season up there is it's unlike anywhere else in the whole province. I believe it's open most of the year, and the bag limit is 10 deer. Like, a person can go up there and harvest 10 deer. Yeah, not in one day, but like in the whole year, you can harvest 10 deer on that island. But I've seen some videos and people like go up there, like they're really small. They're like dogs. They're really tiny deer. So I don't know if I'd do that. I was chatting with a woman that I met in Squamish, and she organized a women's hunting trip up there. And she brought all these women up with her, and they would stay in like an Airbnb or something, and they would go out and hunt these deer. And it was a way for them to kind of create a safe space for women to explore hunting and have the support of other women doing it. It was pretty cool chatting with her about all that and sort of getting to know what it was like up there. And she shared a lot of information about that with me, which was pretty neat. I think I still have her phone number, actually, so we talked about going hunting at one point, but we'll see. Anyway, Haida Gwaii. there's a lot of other cool things going on in Haida Gwaii too. You know, it's not just the deer. So, but yeah, you know, that's obviously a place where the population's really high, and it's, you know, it's really they can afford to harvest that many deer off the island up there. So anyway, not too long ago, I got involved in a conversation that came about in my last video about sort of the ethics of harvesting, like that crab that I ate, and other wild animals and stuff, and it really raised a bit of a thought process for me as well around all this sort of stuff. And I don't know if I'll get into it right now, but anyway, I left a pretty long comment reply to that one, and I pinned it to the top of the video, so if you're curious, you can go look at it. Yeah. Yeah, so about the deer, they generally, like, the Sitka deer is a smaller blacktail deer that lives on the coast. I think the deer on Vancouver Island, I'm not sure that you would say they're a Sitka blacktail deer. The deer on Vancouver Island are bigger in size than a regular Sitka, but then on the Gulf Islands, they seem like the deer are smaller as well. So it's they might be like a Sitka or something like that. And then if you go down to Sydney Island, which is just off the tip of Vancouver Island on the south end, Sydney Island and James Island, I haven't been there, but they've got fallow deer, which is a deer that was brought in from Europe. It's not a native species at all, and that particular deer, you can they have very specific times when you can go hunting for them, but for the most part there's no bag limit on them, and they're open year round. But the whole island is private property, and so the people that live there have a pretty specific time when, you know, they have a little hunting party that goes on. They have to kind of I guess plan it with the locals so that it's safe for everybody, and, you know, there's not, you know, bullets whizzing by when, you know, it's not expected, and that kind of thing. So obviously you don't want to have bullets whizzing by anyway, but you want them to go where you want them to go, but still you got to play it safe, especially in a place like that. That would be an interesting trip too. Like, I definitely thought of it, but it's a pretty exclusive opportunity for people to go there and do that. But yeah, fallow deer. They've gone back and forth on that whole thing with the deer on that island, because those deer are displacing a lot of the normal animals that would be native to that area, and so they're making it difficult for other populations of animals to cohabitat with on that island. Plus, they never really belonged there in the first place. But, you know, that's you know, that's that. Oh, well, Camilla, thank you. That's great. Thanks so much, Camilla. Appreciate the super chat. Little fundraiser for my trip to Bali, I suppose. Put that towards that for sure. Thank you. The cat lady Van's in here. Hey, Emmy, good to see you. Emmy, happy birthday. It's Emmy's birthday coming up. I think it's tomorrow or the next day. So Emmy's having a birthday too, you guys. That's the cat lady Van on YouTube. Chrome invited me up. They're doing a little sort of something for Emmy for her birthday, but I'm not sure that I'm actually going to be able to make it for the full thing. I might be able to come up and say hi to you on tomorrow or something like that, Emmy. But yeah, I've got a lot on the go, and I gotta manage that stuff carefully. I know you guys want to go up to that place up in the backcountry there, and it's just going to put me out of. It's way out of my way, so I'd probably spend $200 in gas round trip to get up there and come back down here. And I don't know. I'm telling you this now because you're in here, but and then I got to go to Vancouver at the same time, so I need to spend that money on my ferry travel back and forth. I also need cell service like every day right now because I'm just talking to. I'm trying to organize this dive training that I'm doing. Anyway, I'll chat with you later. But I'll come catch up with you at some point, and we'll say hi and do a fire and all that. Yeah, Catherine Spine. Haida has no natural predators, although I hear of bear eating them. Not sure of that. I don't know. I think yeah. So I mean, generally a bear will eat a deer. Black bear typically like they're gonna eat, and most even grizzly bears like they're gonna predate on fawns. So in the springtime, typically it's the baby deer. So when you know when the baby deer are coming out and their little fawns are just kind of sitting around the grass. They don't have any smell, so a lot of animals don't even smell and notice them there. It's just kind of like, but sometimes an animal will stumble on it. I think grizzly bears in particular, they learn quickly, and then they're kind of like, oh, this is a good meal for for the springtime because they're trying to put that weight back on. But grizzly bears will primarily eat baby deer. And I could see black bears doing that too if the opportunity comes up. But yeah, and then I would gather there would be cougars up there. Cougars, another big deer predator. I think a cougar eats something like a deer every 5 days or something is the amount of like how often they eat a deer. I don't know. It's quite a high number when you think of it. But anyway. It's all natural circle of life stuff. It's pretty cool. Yeah. Cool. Oh, Amik, do you want to visit Alaska? Oh, 100%, man. Like, yeah. I mean, it's basically like, it's gorgeous up there. It's the same coastline as here, and it's beautiful. There's some places in Alaska that look like incredible. And, that's probably, I don't know, I'd say that's one of the most that has the most magnetism for me out of all the places I could visit in the US. It would be like Alaska has got the biggest pull. Like getting up there and seeing like the caribou, that'd be really cool. Going out into like deep moose country and just seeing all that stuff. There's some crazy alpine stuff. I don't know if I'd be totally down for that. I don't want to endanger myself, but yeah, that'd be a cool place to visit. And then the ocean there is beautiful too. There's a lot of the same aquatic animals that are here that are up there. You probably have a little bit more of a population just because you're up further north, and there's probably a little bit less commercial fishing pressure and stuff. But certainly there's quite a bit of fishing pressure, but it's different kind. So yeah. Alaska, yeah, definitely go. Yeah, Dasal, you're asking how do I stay cool in the van during the summertime? It's a great question. Basically, it's what I do with my van is I don't have an air conditioner or anything like that. I have an air conditioner in the van, like when I'm driving. So if I'm driving, that's fine, but I don't idle my engine. I try not to idle my engine. The only time I actually do idle my engine, this is off topic from your question, but it's like in the winter time when I get up in the morning and there's ice and fog and all that stuff on the window. I generally turn my van on, let things warm up, and let the window clear, and then I'm good to go. I can drive away. But other than that, I really try not to idle it. Certainly not in the summertime. But what I do for cold is I drive, typically find places that are shaded and in valleys. It's a little bit of a catch-22 because at the same time I want to have solar panels in the sun. So it's like sometimes I want to be in the sun to get energy, but then it's too hot and I want to go in the shade, and it's kind of a little bit of a back and forth thing. But if I can get into a valley that's got a river in it, there's some shade, those thermals that come down off the mountain, they kind of pull down into that valley, and there's usually this nice breeze of cool air. And I look for spots like that just to kind of park and hang out, and or in the shade, that kind of thing. But that's generally what I do. I hope that answers your question. Mimi Malone, you're saying you've already addressed this, but last week harvesting of the king crab was hard to watch. Is there underwater vegetation that would be edible and not take away from aquatic life? Um, so yeah, there's I mean, that's a personal thing. So first of all, if it's hard to watch, like that's definitely your experience of it, Mimi. Um, on this channel, I will harvest animals and I will eat them. I consume meat in my diet. I'm not a vegan. I did try that at one point in time, but I ended up running into troubles with it, and I ended up getting some consulting. I went and saw a holistic nutritionist, and we went through a whole gambit of stuff. But basically, at the end of the day, she's just like, you need to have meat in your diet, like your constitution, your blood type, all this sort of stuff. And so I slowly started bringing meat back into my diet, and I just bounced back, and my health came back, and I was just like, I was like much more solid after that. And I think, like, genuinely, like, there's people that, you know, require an animal product in their diet, and it's a healthy food. As far as like the whole sensitivity around killing an animal for food, I get it. Like, I understand the emotional, like, it's hard for some people to watch and that kind of thing. And I thought, well, you know, should I censor my content because I want to make, you know, people like yourself feel more comfortable watching my videos? That's difficult because I feel sort of hypocritical if I do that, because I am actually killing an animal and eating it. And whether I go into a grocery store and buy my meat in there, I'm involved in the process of killing an animal. But if I do it in person, then I'm much more connected to that food. Personally, I prefer the stuff that's in person, like in the wild, or possibly going to a local mom and pop farm and getting something that's like grown in a much better fashion than like conventional farm raised animals, that are like, you know, anyway, I won't get into that whole thing, but yeah, so I mean, if I censor that sort of stuff, which I've already done to some extent, like, it bothers me to do that, and yet it bothers me to share it. Like, I'm in a catch-22 with that. People are gonna hate on me, and I get hate on from both sides of it. So I got like the hardcore hunters over here hating on me because they're like, dude, why are you not showing that stuff? And then I got the animal lovers over here hating on me because I'm showing me killing an animal, or I'm showing I'm at least sharing the impression that that's what took place. And I just can't win. Like, I mean, and those videos, they don't do well, like in a sense. Like, I've got some people are, let's see more catch and cook, and I do a catch and cook, and, you know, it doesn't perform super well at the same time, and I usually lose a bunch of people, and I don't know, it's just this weird thing. And I think that comes down to, like, my main audience is probably mostly van life based, and so the videos of me just hanging out in the van, those are the ones that seem to do the best on my channel. There's no hate in there. It's usually good stuff all around, but I don't want to bottleneck myself into making that kind of content. Like, I don't want to restrict the freedoms of me. Like, I want to be able to go and do my life and share that stuff, and it may fit, it may resonate with you, and it may not. So there's some things that, you know, maybe you're uncomfortable with. And I don't mean to trigger people, like, it's not that, but I feel like the idea of catching food in the wild, if it's done correctly, is a sustainable way to nourish a person and feed a family and feed a person. And or maybe like some small farm, and I might share some small farmings video related stuff in the future. But yeah, now if I go to the store and I buy that stuff, you guys, instead, like, I've done this too, where I've done a video where it's like I've done a catch and cook, and I get a bunch of hate on it, And then I've gone to another video where, and you maybe, and I haven't even told you guys about this, but I go to the store and I film a little bit of shopping experience in there, buying some meat, cooking some bacon or whatever. And everybody loves it. But nobody knows what actually happened to that pig. Like, what was its life like? Like, it turned into bacon, you know, is that from one animal? Is it from two animals? You know, what, like, I'm removed from that part of it. But there was a death, an animal died to produce that meal for me. And the reality is the foods that are in the grocery stores, and this goes for all foods, even vegetables and grains and all that sort of stuff, is that whole industry is, it's profit motivated. People want to produce good quality foods, of course. Like, there's definitely like some really cool artisan food companies, and there's some really amazing good things and great farming practices that are going on. But then there's a lot of profit motivation as well. And so there's a lot of corners that are cut. Like, all the fish that you buy in a store, like, there's so much devastation and bycatch involved in all of that stuff that it's not a sustainable way, like, to get your fish. It's far better to go and catch your own fish. And lately, like, for me to get into diving and eventually spearfishing, it's a big motivation for me because it's a much more sustainable and ethical way to harvest fish from the ocean or the lakes. And it's because you're not, you know, when you're fishing with gear and traps and all that sort of stuff, a lot of that stuff, like, inevitably I get hooked up on the bottom and I have to snap the line and I lose a fishing lure, and there's maybe 30 feet of monofilament that's out there in the water, or braided line or whatever, and it's just kind of swooping around. It gets tangled up in marine life. It probably causes a bunch of death down there just because it's a byproduct that's not meant to be in the ocean, or a trap gets left out there, or a trap line, and a whale gets hooked up in all that rope. Like, there's all the commercial crabbing that goes on. You buy a crab in a store, for example, like, those traps for Dungeness crabs, sometimes they get broken and those ropes get wrapped up in whales and the whales die. And, you know, like, or the fish, you know, people catch a bunch of tuna, but there's a bunch of dolphins and sharks and all kinds of other stuff that gets pulled into those nets too, and all that stuff just dies. You know, it doesn't go through a horrific experience. Whereas if you go spearfishing, you're going down there with a gun with a spear on it, and you get to see what's in the environment and decide, like, okay, this looks like a good place to harvest a fish from. There's a decent population, everything looks pretty healthy. That one looks like a older fish that's been around for a while, you know, passed on its genetics. I'm gonna harvest that one. And then by doing that, you're not having an impact on, like, the breeding pool of that species because it's, in a sense, it's already been able to pass on its genes. And then you've selectively harvested a fish out of that area. So for me, like, being a person that consumes meat, I'm always trying to find a better way to go and get it. And share that back with you guys as well, hopefully to inspire other people to move towards the same direction in a way. And I know that's not, you know, not everybody can do that, you know, that's cool. That's why I'm interested in maybe doing some farm practice videos where it's like, well, what if you just drive around in your local area? Vancouver Island's great for this too, because there's so many little hobby farms around to get, like, eggs and chickens and ducks and all that kind of stuff from. And I haven't even looked into it yet, but I do want to do that. And that's more accessible to people in general. But yeah, anyway, now the other side of your question, Mimi Malone, was, can I harvest vegetables instead, like sea vegetables? I can definitely do that. But I'm still going to harvest animals as well. Now, right now in the oceans, one of the things that I've become aware of and I've been learning about, particularly around the whole Pacific Northwest coast of BC, the US, basically all up and down the coastline is not too long ago there was a pandemic that happened underwater, kind of like COVID, but it was something that was in the marine environment, and it was called starfish wasting syndrome. And so what it did is it basically it caught on, and starfish everywhere were dying off, particularly the sunflower starfish, which is this really, really big one with all these arms on it. That particular starfish predates, so it eats sea urchins. And sea urchins, where you see the dive video, those are those purple and green balls with all the little spikes on it. And I can eat those too. I can harvest and eat them. There's a little roe sack in there that I could try. I've never tried it. I will try it and see how it goes. And I should probably eat those and as much as I can, because there's that starfish population has almost been obliterated. That animal is now on the endangered species list. And what happens is all those sea urchins now don't have a predator that's taking them out. So the sea urchin population has grown a lot, and the sea urchins eat kelp. So all the sea vegetables and stuff that are growing under the water, the sea urchins are eating that. And so what's happening is there's all these patches of kelp forest and stuff that are getting decimated by sea urchins, and the sea urchin population is getting explosive, and you'll dive down in some spots and it's just sea urchins. It's like urchin barren. So already I'm thinking, like, if I harvest kelp, which is a vegetable out of the ocean, like a vegan would probably be like, oh great, he's he's not harvesting an animal, he's harvesting kelp. Well, the kelp right now is almost by default endangered, and it's a vegetable because it's being decimated by the urchins. And when the kelp gets taken out, then the fish in that environment lose their hiding spots, the structure to sort of like keep them safe. And so then it affects the fish population too. So there's this whole web of all this wild stuff that's happening. And it came about from this pandemic that happened. And I'm sure in nature, like, there's an ebb and flow of all this stuff that happens over time. And this sort of thing has probably happened, some point in the past, maybe not exactly the same way. And nature has bounced back from that, and it's kind of assimilated itself the way it is. And all of a sudden we develop the technology to go down there ourselves and look at the environment and go like, wow, okay, this is how the ocean is. We don't know what the past of the ocean is as well. Like, I mean, we can kind of figure it out through geology and stuff like that. But anyway, this kind of stuff happens. And we just had our own human pandemic with COVID, and that changed the face of the planet too, in at least our paradigm. But anyway, that being said, I am a little bit more reluctant to harvest sea vegetables. I probably will. Like, I mean, at one point, one of those bulk kelp things, I'll probably harvest one of those. They're very big, by the way. One would be way, way, way more than I could possibly consume myself anyway. But maybe a smaller one, I might do something, slice it up, pickle it, do some cool thing like that in the shop, and sort of show that. But there's a part of me that almost doesn't want to show that, because I don't want people to go out there and start harvesting something that's under pressure right now. Like, I don't want to encourage that kind of thing. So I don't know, like, for me, like, I think about a lot of that stuff, food wise, fish, animals, plants, that kind of thing. I try to be careful about what I do share, but that particular crab was an older male. He'd already passed on his genetics probably multiple times, and taking him out of the population isn't going to, affect the breeding stock of that particular animal. And the people that I was with were really careful and mindful about that as well when they were harvesting those guys. And furthermore, like, if you look at the DFO, which is the Department of Fisheries and Oceans, they manage the fishing licenses, the regulations, what's allowed to be taken out of the ocean for recreational fishing and commercial fishing for that matter. Their limit, like their regulations on the Puget Sound king crab, is 1 per day per fishing license on a recreational license. And it needs to be a male. They don't have a size restriction on it, but just a male. So that being said, theoretically speaking, I could go out and harvest and eat one of those every day of the year if I wanted to. I'm not going to do that. But they base their rules based on the science and the health of those populations and stuff. Now, I mean, that being said, like, they might not have the best science and the best eyes on the environment, but the DFO does have quite a few people out there working for them, and they're not concerned about the populations of those crabs right now. Especially if you're, like, I think they should have a size restriction on that so that only the really large males can be harvested. But then again, from a crabbing perspective, that particular crab, you can only really get it if you put fins and a mask and a snorkel on and a wetsuit, or, you know, scuba tank, and you dive down and you harvest them that way. You're not likely going to catch them in a trap. The environments that you would trap are just too rocky. You would lose your traps. You would pollute the ocean, and you're just not going to get those crabs that way. So, and there's no commercial fishing for them either. So anyway, yeah, I have a lot of conversations about this kind of stuff with people that I've got a marine biologist friend that teaches up in Nanaimo. We talk about this kind of stuff. I talk about this with Chris, who's been just educating himself. Chris P&W Sampson. He's been busy educating himself on all this stuff for years now, and he's been going down underneath the water with his camera and creating all these really beautiful videos and talking about a lot of this stuff in his videos. And he still gets people hating on him too when he's out there spearfishing. They're like, oh, you know, how dare you do that and stuff, like, leave those animals alone. And it's like, well, he's spearfishing, and it's the most sustainable way of fishing for food and catching fish that way. But I'll get into all that later. I'll do a video on that sort of stuff and talk about that a bit. Anyway, yeah, I think I'm done with that rant. There's probably a bunch of you guys that have, like, commented on this since we've been on this conversation for a little while. I got a text message from Chrome. Am I coming tomorrow? Chrome, if you're watching, I'll call you later. I'll talk to you in a bit. Yeah. Anyway. Whew. I just saw the chat just going like this, and there's a lot of stuff here that I probably missed, but I'm gonna cruise through some of this, you guys, and see if there's anything cool. Let's see. Let's see. Coffee. All right. Let's see. Thank you, Insanity. Insanity is just linking everyone to my Patreon account. Yeah, guys, if you want to get more updated stuff or support me in another way, you can join my Patreon. I'm much more active on there, and just share, like, what I'm doing in current real sort of time fashion with photographs and posts and stuff like that. So there is that, and then you know, anything that you can contribute, that really does help me out too at the end of the day, and it helps pay for all the expenses that go into the channel and creating videos, as well as you know, everything else. But I generally reinvest all that money back into the channel. Oh yeah, Mimi, just not hating, just felt sorry for the old king crab. Yeah, I get it. Like, yeah, and then, like, you know, I mean, I feel bad too when I kill an animal. I can understand the process. Like, I haven't experienced death myself in a real sense before. I've had death experiences in a what do you call it? A psychedelic death. Okay, I've gone through that. several times over, and it was scary as it was. Just, might as well have been real. Like it was literally, and I imagine some of you guys know what I'm talking about, um, but yeah, it's quite a powerful experience to go through, and I think that would be like ultimately your death is probably the biggest crux and primal moment of your entire life, other than having a baby and being born. Like those are probably the biggest moments that we experience, losing a loved one, all that sort of stuff. So when I kill an animal, there's I understand what's going on, and I love the animals, but at the same time, like, I know I'm taking an animal's life, and I'm feeding myself, and there's a humility, there's a compassion there. In a sense, like, there's an understanding, especially when it's a bigger animal like a deer. There's kind of a deeper reverence to it. But I'm always like really grateful and thankful for those moments too. I mean, I've broke down in tears, when I accidentally kill an animal sometimes. Like, I remember this one experience, sort of sticks with me. When I was delivering mail in Vancouver as a letter carrier, and I got out of the truck with these bags of mail, and I just kind of threw them down, and there was a spider on the side of the box, and the bag smashed the spider, and it just killed the spider, and I wasn't paying attention. But for some reason, that just put me into like this sad, like, emotional, like, I bawled after I did that. And I was by myself. I was just out working, delivering mail, but I just felt like, man, I just, accidentally killed that animal, and, it just bothered me. Other times it's like, I'm killing that animal, it's a mosquito or whatever, like, So there's different times, there's different experiences with that sort of stuff. It's kind of hard to explain, but yeah. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's not easy for everybody to do that kind of thing, and that's okay. I don't think everybody needs to, and I mean, it's highly evident that most people don't like doing that kind of thing. We pay people to do the killing for us, and we're all seem to be okay with that. It all takes place behind closed doors, behind the scenes. We don't see it. We just go into the store. Everything's in these nice, cute little packages, and but we don't see the actual death that goes on. Unless we watch some of those documentaries and stuff, and then you're like, oh, geez, wow, maybe I should be a vegetarian. I'm not so comfortable with this anymore, and that might be a reason to try that out. Yeah, CB, the only way we're really going to stop some of the ocean devastation is the whole world ceases eating commercially caught seafood. Even then, there's still a pet food industry. Yeah, that's a really, like, interesting, like, argument or, like, idea. I would say there's some commercial fishing that is done in a way that is, it's got a very low impact on the environment, and it's probably sustainable, with very little bycatch and stuff. Like, I saw this one. Have you guys ever watched Battlefish on Netflix? It's a pretty cool documentary. These guys out tuna fishing off the U.S. coast, and they're basically pole fishing, and they got lines out. They're trolling and stuff, but there's one rig that they've got, which is basically a long pole, and on the end of it is a really, like, 10-foot line or something with a lure on it, and they just kind of hang it off the edge of the boat, and the fish come up and grab that, and they just yank them into the boat, And so the fish are going into the boat, and there's zero bycatch. There's not hundreds of feet of line out there that's going to get tangled up in something like that. That kind of fishing, that's a commercial fishing, like that looks like that's sustainable to me. So just using that as an example, but there's ways of commercial fishing that are okay, and then there's ways of it that are not okay. And the regulatory bodies and the policing that goes around that is, I think, part of the problem, but also the industry and the consumer demand as well. There's just, it's so complicated. There's all these areas within that whole chain where there's corruption, there's things that are going on that shouldn't be going on. You got commercial outfits that are going out there that are poaching, that are taking stuff out of the water that they're not supposed to. They're raking the bottom with these huge nets. And some of that stuff's illegal, but they do it anyway, and then they get caught, and then they have like a fine to pay that might be like $500,000 or something like that, which seems like a lot of money, but for them it's just like it's the cost of doing business, and they're like, well, we had a fine that day, but if we can get away with it for like the other 29 days of the month or something, then we're still coming out way above and making lots of money. So there's a problem even with like the ability, like the funding for the people that look after these environments. They need more money, and they also need not this crazy top-down management that's really big on the top too, where the money just gets tied up and like wasted. Like, hate to say it, but the Canadian government, like when I even worked in Canada Post, like there's so much paper pushing around where it's just like, oh my God, there's such a waste of money. And I'm sure that exists within the government too, where it's just, and I mean, we publicly recognize it. Like there's a waste of taxpayer money, there's a waste of money and resources, and it's not going to the right places as it should. Anyway, it's a huge mess, big complications. I'm not a pro. I can't say how that stuff should be fixed, but we can all work on our own awarenesses of different things and make different choices, and then as a consumer, and we can vote that way, and I think that'll have a lasting impact on all that sort of stuff. Yeah. Let's see. Aaron Seth, hi Joseph, I really like your van setup except for the vent fan. Is there such a thing as an ultra low profile type that can be purchased, or would that be something you'd have to be custom made? The vent, I mean, a personal preference, right? I love that thing. I think it's one of the best things I've got on here, but I have seen another van, which was a minivan. Was that J5 Custom Vans, actually. It was a minivan, and the roof fan was the same as mine. It was put right here, and the top part lid was totally removed, so it's just open on the top, but there's this huge solar panel covering the whole top of it, so the rain can't get into it. It's always open. There's no lid on it, but the solar panel keeps any of the rain from going into it. And when you look at the van from the side, you're not seeing that big shark fin thing on the top, so it's pretty sleek. You could do something like that. I don't know, you could do some research. You probably look around at different ones. I'm sure there's some other ones out there that might work for what you have in mind. Yeah, Inner Tracks, they had captain's meeting here in Seattle that I was an event serving the and Siji. I'm not sure what that word is. We're talking about devastation of reefs from all the crab traps that are dropped and the amount of traps out there. Yeah. Yeah, crab traps are a big deal. There's There's illegal use of crab traps too. There was a video that Chris did a while back that I watched, and he came across a trap line in Vancouver actually, and there was no buoy markers on it. It was hidden underneath the water. There was something like 250 traps, crab traps, on that one trap line, and they pulled it out. The local DFO was aware of the poaching that's going on for the crabbing that's in and around that area, and they were like, it's helpful. It's a drop in the bucket, but it's a drop in the bucket in terms that they removed all those traps, but they know that the people that are doing that are just gonna go out there and be loading up another 200, 300, 400, 500 traps in the water, and they're putting them down at nighttime. Like, they're going out in their boat and they're putting them down at night because there's no buoys on them. You can't see them. Nobody knows they're there. They just mark them off with GPSs, and then they go back out there at night and pull them in, and they probably take everything that's in there, female, undersized, all of that. And then those traps are just, down on the bottom. The Vancouver area is like, that whole harbor's got a pretty interesting ecosystem. I haven't really dove that area, but there's so much boat traffic in there too. It wouldn't really be a place that I would want to harvest crab from. I wouldn't want to eat a lot of seafood out of there. I'd eat some, but not a ton of it. Anyway, yeah. But yeah, crab traps, the ropes, the traps themselves, all that stuff makes a lot of mess. And I still have mine that are up on the roof. I'm gonna do a video on those later on. I still think they're useful for certain applications, but I'm gonna get away from using those for sure. Oh, contain your life. I really like your comment. This is, please everyone, all of the time. You start living when you stop caring what other people think. Live simple, creatively, affordably, consciously, and sustainably. That's pretty cool. Thank you. That was nice to read that. Ming Lee, sea urchin is not for everybody, but if you happen to like it, it's definitely a delicacy to have. Yeah, it looks a little unappetizing, but I'll definitely try it out. Yeah, I'll give it a go, because I mean, that's definitely a sustainable seafood there, because there's such a huge population of them right now. Bye, Michelle Reader. Just see Michelle Reader saying, just gotta go. Might be gone already, but I'll see you later anyway, in spirit. Oh wow, that's cool. Catherine Sponge, I was paddling in Guayhanas where an orca was caught and started to drown. It was horrifying. She did break free, had a grateful look in her eyes for us staying with her, then she left. Phew. So I guess Catherine was just sharing a personal experience where she came by a whale that was caught up in some fishing gear. It happens all the time, you guys. There's people that go out there, try to find these whales that are entangled and free them up. It's a pretty tricky bit of business for them to be doing that, but like, there's a lot of pollution out there that's, and if we can get away from that, like, I mean, I don't know how to stop that. Yeah, I don't know. It's such a big problem. I definitely believe we have the capacity to work this stuff out. If we start putting our energy into creative solutions, instead of trying to stop things that are going on, we look at, like, how do we find ways to make things better and mitigate things, and just find solutions to things. There's obviously some things that we should stop, but like war is terrible. We should definitely stop doing that. That's where just creativity just falls short. It's like, oh, lose the capacity to creatively problem solve. Yeah, anyway. Talking about it, Ming says sea urchin is actually like melted ice cream, a little creamy with a hint of sweetness. Okay, so melted ice cream, a little creamy with a little sweetness. So if I add sugar to it, maybe a pinch of salt and a little bit of vanilla, it might be like an ice cream. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Almost might be worth trying to get some maple syrup and try it out. Gar and Eco Life Adventures, have a great day and journey ahead, taking Eco down the Skeena River and scope fishing holes. Right on, man. Have fun down there, and yeah, enjoy the river. Yeah, Bonnie Farmer in Alaska, they catch halibut. Do you have them in BC? Yes, we do. We definitely have halibut here, and there a lot of people that go catching them, especially in the winter time. I think something opened today. Actually, I'm not sure what it was, but I think today is a big opener day for certain fishing. It's also, by the way, any of you guys that are fishing out there in BC, today is the day where you need to get brand new fishing licenses. Your old licenses are expired today, so it's time to buy your new fishing license. Saltwater, freshwater, all that stuff. Even your hunting license. Today is the new day for all that stuff. A beach. When you journey to Indo, you will no doubt see and hear about how fish are raised on land. Thailand's been doing such on land tanks for eternity, it seems. Lots of fish in bags like basa. Yeah, so I guess you're talking about farm fish. There's like tilapias, like growing that way too. There's certain fish that do really well that way. It'd be really cool. I had a dream once to set up an aquaponics system, like eventually on a piece of land, and have something like tilapia in the system, and then have like soldier flies and all that stuff, and this is a whole full circle sort of like greenhouse thing where you can grow your vegetables, grow your fish, and then just like have a full circle like little farm that kind of takes care of itself. Which is a super cool thing to do. You just need the land and be able to do it. And maybe one day I'll actually do that, eventually. And you never know. It was a part of my dream at one point, and then it all changed. And now I'm reformulating my whole life and everything, rebuilding everything in a sense. But never thought I'd live in a van, but here I am. Anyway. Oh, Leslie Hughes. I follow family in the Philippines that raises tilapia. Really involved process. Yeah, I haven't actually like done what you've done. That sounds like a good thing. Just to kind of research it, understand it. I would if I'm like seriously gonna do that. I'd spend a bunch of time doing some research. Right now, my research is all about. I'm researching diving stuff, spearfishing, Bali, spearfishing in Bali. Mostly that's it right now. I'm also really fascinated with like history, like, so I've been researching and watching a lot of stuff on history lately. World War II stuff, both sides of the story. Pretty interesting stuff, crazy stuff too, like holy moly, wow, really crazy stuff, but interesting though. Yeah. Tourists to Canada, I see you in there, buddy. I know you've mentioned this a couple times. Come up, you're in Region 420, come up for an elk. One day, I'm going to come up there and actually come and say hi. I don't know when, but I'm going to do it. And I don't know, maybe some elk hunting. Lauren invited me to go elk hunting, and I definitely want to take him up on that. I think that would be really good. Lauren's the gentleman that did Chrome's ambulance engine build, and he's got Luli Off-Road Adventures as his YouTube channel. So yeah, that might be cool. And then I also have an invitation. This is in Alberta, but my a really good friend of mine has invited me up to her property, which is a big property. It's not really a ranch, but it's like, I guess it could be like a small scale ranch or something. And she's got tons of elk on her property. And she's like, just come up when you're ready. You can just sit on the lawn chair on the front porch and you could choose whichever one you want. Like, the door is open. She says it's basically like a, you know, what do you call that? Like a, I don't know. Anyway, it's not really hunting. It's just like harvesting at that point. So, but that one's a little bit more complicated because I need an Alberta hunting license, and then I need to have someone that's a resident of Alberta that's a hunter to accompany me for that sort of thing. So there's a few things to line up for that, but that would be nice because I could just drive out there, get an elk, and put it in the freezer and not spend copious amounts of time on it, and just be like, okay, meat in the freezer. Because for me, it's about food, although I do like the hunting experience as well. But it's really nice when I go out there and things come together, and it's like, okay, now there's some stuff to put in the freezer. And yeah, so I don't know, we'll see. Oh yeah, you say you met Mark the paint guy last week too. I haven't talked to Mark in a while. I should just give Mark a call and say hi. I mean, he's been busy. Ramblin' Rocketeer, sharing the wild. In every walk in nature, one receives more than he seeks. John Muir, your channel resonates with this saying. Appreciate your insight from Canada. Thanks. Yeah, I mean that's a good quote. I don't know if that applies to every walk, but it certainly could. I've had some walks in nature where I just wasn't in that headspace, and I was somewhere else and not very present with the experience. And so I don't know. There's situations where maybe that wouldn't be the case, but nature's a really good teacher, and I usually get a really good recharge when I'm out in nature. I gotta turn this off, actually. The sun is beating down on the van now, and the heater is no longer necessary. Got the solar panels going right now, which is really nice. TP Seeker is still waiting for me to spend some time with First Nations elders. Yeah, I did spend some time with them when I was in Alberta. I met a group out there, and they're very welcoming. It was a really good bond. We shared quite a bit of conversation together whenever that kind of took place. But out here on the West Coast, that hasn't really manifested for me. Almost feels like a different vibe out here. Like when I was in Alberta, it was more like there was more of a warming connection in a sense, and here it's more cut off. Like I drive through communities and there's still signs up that says COVID, no visitors, and like it's just kind of like I feel like there's this more clear division here, which is I don't know. It's kind of an interesting observation, and I don't know if it's just been my experience so far, but I'm, if it's meant to be, it'll happen in its time. I'm not gonna force anything, but that could be pretty cool. So I don't know. We'll see. Let that kind of stuff just happen organically. And that being said, from time to time I keep threatening myself to do this, but I should check. I don't think it's the case, but I could check to see if I have a status, like basically like an indigenous status in Canada. I did talk with my dad about it once, and he's like, no, there's no way. But his mom was Métis, and so I still wonder. Like I'm like, well, maybe there's enough to get the status. It'd be pretty cool because then, I mean, for one, I could fish and hunt year round if I did have status, which might be pretty interesting. But it might open up some doors. But yeah, I don't know. You know, yeah. A friend of mine was pointing out this person that he knew, and she was this white blonde girl, like total Caucasian, and he's like, she's got status, and I was like, okay. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know. It's just something that I thought of from time to time, but I think it'd be really cool to meet up with some indigenous people and yeah, just connect with them. Actually, that being said, I might be meeting up with some this week in Vancouver, so we'll see. That being said, what that is about is so I'm going to be going to Vancouver soon. There's going to be an event put on at the Patagonia store in Vancouver. I'm not even sure that I'm going to be able to go to it, but it's an event put on by Immenso Diving. That's the company that I got my wetsuit from and my fins. And that's also with Chris PNW Sampson. They're going to be doing a conversation on spearfishing and how it's a sustainable way to harvest fish. And it's a better practice than like fishing with a pole and line and commercial fishing and all that sort of stuff. And then there's going to be an indigenous group there from Squamish First Nations, I believe, that are going to be talking about the herring spawn and some of the stuff going on within the Howe Sound area of the ocean up there. So if you're interested in that, what I'll try to do is I'll try and post something like a photograph or something on my community tab, and I'll put the link there. But that's going to be at the Patagonia store in Vancouver. So if I go to that, then maybe I could meet up with a group and make some friends. No, that would be cool. The only thing is I've got something else that's sort of hanging in the air for that same day. That if it's a go, then I'm gonna go do that instead. Not that has to do with my diving training. Anyway, yeah, that's it. The pursuit of happiness. I am good, man. I'm good. How are you? Oh, Catherine Sponge. I'm a redhead with blue eyes, yet native. No status, though, as my people are from Alaska. My aunt has status as she was born in Alaska. Oh, okay. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I should look into it. It'd be interesting. And then that would bring up a lot of questions, too. Distant pursuit of happiness, wherever that is. Right on. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Leslie Hughes was just saying the attitude of some after your undersea adventure and gathering was uncalled for. In my eyes, Joseph, more research for some may have been advantageous. Um, so Leslie's talking about how some people were triggered about the crab harvest catch and cook video, and there was some comments on there that were kind of more um, aggressively defensive in nature, that were just sort of hating on me for doing that. Um, and I guess what you're saying is maybe doing a little bit more research or sharing a little bit more knowledge about the full circle sort of side of things with that, so that people have better understanding what's going on. I think so. When it comes to the people that are hating on me for that kind of stuff, Leslie, I think what happens. I mean, this is just a projection, but I feel like when some of those comments, I read them and I I feel like they didn't watch the video or the entire video, or maybe just a small part of it, or they didn't even watch the video at all. So if I go into the explanation side of it, which I'll do in some videos, to sort of like show the efficacy of what I'm doing, um, it still goes over people's head if they're not going to see the video. Like, so catch and cook, for example, I'm sure there's probably somebody out there. There's a lot of people in the world, but there's probably somebody out there that is particularly charged negatively against that type of content, that they might even go to the length of searching those titles out on YouTube, finding out who's doing them, and then going and hating on them, in maybe their way of trying to change what they dislike in the world, and that's maybe their method of doing it. And so when I get some of the hate comments, I think like, well, it's none of my business anyways. It's just someone's upset with me. But that isn't necessarily like me that they're upset with. They're upset with something in themselves about the experience that they're having with me. And yeah, but if I go into the, like, I certainly don't want to get into the habit of explaining all of my actions in all my videos. I got kind of caught up with that at one point in time when I was doing my hunting videos, and then I started overly explaining my stuff, and I was editing the videos, and I was like, I don't like myself doing this. I don't like it personally, because I don't want to have to over explain every situation and thing that I'm doing. It's just like, I like it better when I watch a video and somebody's out hunting or fishing, and it's just like, it's a hunting and fishing video, and it's just like, oh yeah, that's why I clicked on it. That's why I wanted to watch it. I didn't want a guide to explain every reason why he was doing things. So I don't want to get overly explanatory with it, but what I'll probably do is do like a real dedicated video on that kind of thing. And so when these comments come up, I'll just kind of link that video and say, here, check this out. And, maybe that might help sort things out. But I don't know. There's always going to be people that are going to hate on me for what I'm doing, because they've got a pretty strong emotional charge with what it is I'm doing. And it doesn't matter. Like, and then I've got people on the other side of things that are hunters and fishermen that are going to hate on me as well because I'm too conservative about what I'm sharing. And they're like, dude, man, like, show us the gutting of the deer and chopping it up into little pieces. Like, that's what I want to see. You're not letting us show us the kill shots and stuff. And some of you guys don't want to see that. At the end of the day, and I don't want to censor too much stuff, but like, there's a certain amount of censoring that I do. But at the end of the day, it's the content that I want to create. I want to do it in a way that's tasteful. I don't need to show you the gruesome stuff. It's not really necessary, but I do wish like some things would be okay to share on YouTube. Like, all this crazy stuff with what I'm allowed to share and not share. Like there's rules that I need to abide by, community guidelines and all that sort of stuff. Some of it I don't really, I think it's a little bit extreme, but that's, I don't make those rules. So I just gotta play the cards right and do what I can do. On the other hand, like, you know, Ming Malone was saying like she felt a little bit like it was difficult to see me in the crab video because she felt emotionally upset about the fact that I ate this crab and killing an animal, that kind of thing. And like I get it, like I can sympathize with that, and like but at the same time I don't want to start behaving in a way where I'm trying to be nice to everybody. I have a I have a relationship with trying to be nice to everybody, and I wouldn't say it's a bad relationship, but it's just like that's something I kind of grew up with, and I'm working on dispelling, in a sense. So I'm just trying to like be myself and not be obsessed about what other people think. And I got caught up with that a lot. But I'm sensitive, dude. I'm aware of what's going on with people's thoughts and emotions and stuff, and I get it. Like I can sympathize with someone that gets upset about that sort of stuff. And I can also sympathize with the guy that's like, dude, show us more carnage, like that stuff's real. It's wild. And it is. It's like sharing the wild. It's like, well, that's a wildness that, I haven't shared a lot of because, well, for certain reasons. But anyway, I don't know. Yeah, so I don't know. Leslie, I'm always going to have some people that are going to hate. And I'm I'm slowly getting better with my own relationship towards all of that, which I'm really happy about. And I probably wouldn't be here talking about this or having come this far along in my own development with that relationship with myself had it not been for YouTube and sharing all this stuff online with you guys. So I feel really grateful that I've got this platform and this sort of stuff, and it's almost a therapy for me at the same time. So it's kind of neat. Oh, Ming Lee, you're saying, Joseph, do you think there is a possibility to have land eventually? And if so, which province is likely your first pick? Well, of course, I'd choose BC. I just love ocean power and this kind of stuff. It's very expensive out here, and but I would love to get a piece of property somewhere. I've been thinking about that a lot lately, but I was just like, yeah, I don't know. I definitely need. I don't know. Like obviously, some things need to come together for that kind of thing to come together, but that would be cool. It was my dream for a long time to get a piece of land, build a cabin on it, have a big garden, have an aquaculture setup perhaps, and grow some tilapia. Close to the ocean, go out, do some fishing. I could add spearfishing to that now, hunting, all that sort of stuff, and basically prepare a lot of that food and wild food crafting, that is, and ultimately live closer to the land and share that. So I will always have a van. And I'm going to talk about that in a video series that I'm going to do, but I won't get into that. But I love my van. Whew. Yeah, thanks. The pursuit of happiness. Just keep it real, enjoy your journey, and doing what makes you happy. Let the haters hate. Pretty much. It's I still get sometimes a little bit stirred up with the hate, And if there's a hater out there right now, and you just heard me say that, you're probably like, oh yeah, we still compress his buttons. That's fine. It's just means there's more personal psychological work for me to do. So when you press my buttons, it gives me the opportunity to reinvestigate that within myself and kind of go, okay, yeah, like what is it? I can ask all kinds of questions about it, and I can work with it and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, it helps me grow. So it's fine. But there's way more of that stuff right now. It doesn't phase me one bit whatsoever. So, which is, that's growth. That's good growth. I'm happy for that. I'm really grateful for that. Yeah, but yeah, there's always going to be haters out there. It's just I think it's kind of an interesting label, like, because I went through a phase where I was a hater. Like, there were some things that I just hated about things that people did, and when I was going through that development phase of my own life, that's how I look at it now. It's like it was a stage where I was just kind of like, just upset with what I saw in the world. And I was younger, I was in my 20s, and I, seeing what's going on in the environment and all kinds of stuff. And I see these guys drive by in a diesel truck, and I'd just be like, I hate you. Like, you're just polluting the environment. And then I'd see someone throw a cigarette butt out. I hate you. Like, I just went through this phase where I was just like, I don't know, really cynical. And nowadays, like, I mean, I'm not. It's still, there's still some things like throwing cigarette butts out, for example. That's kind of bad. Diesel trucks don't bother me anymore. It's like, oil doesn't bother me anymore. I think it's necessary that we have oil and we burn that stuff. I mean, it's we're so dependent on it, and at the same time, I don't think we can stop that. And I think energy is very, very important, and I think oil products are very important. Of course, there's a way of working with all that stuff that requires maybe some changes, I suppose. But yeah, anyway, we grow, but you go through that cynical phase, or at least I did, and I'm less cynical now. Like, when I see somebody doing something that's really awful, like nowadays, it's like rape, murder, war, all that kind of stuff. I'm just like, theft or just entitlement, righteousness. That really triggers me these days when someone's righteous, like the cynical person. I'm just like, but then I recognize that in myself, and I go, well, I felt that way once, and so I get it. There's a relationship, an emotional relationship within that individual that they're still working through, and something like that. So anyway, I'm slowly turning into an old guy. And I'm still young, but I'm feeling different. Like, especially, that dive crew that I was with last weekend. Or a couple weekends ago now. Like, I felt older. Like, I was just kind of like, oh, I could feel like I've been through a few things. Like, I'm in a different place, in a way. But those guys were great. I love them. But yeah, it was just some personal self-reflection that was going on. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Don. Yeah, appreciate that. It's just, yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, Don was just saying, Joseph, you speak so eloquently about hate comments and truly the way we should all lead our lives. If they're angered at something, it is out of our control. They need to look within. Yeah, I mean, I have tools to be able to deal with that sort of stuff, and I understand it more, and I owe a lot of that to the counseling that I did, like the counseling programs that I went through, some of the men's circle work that I went through, which just happened to be men's circle. It didn't matter whether it was men or women or, group circle work, that kind of stuff. But all that stuff really, really helps. Gave me some tools to be able to deal with stuff like that and ask questions, investigate, understand, integrate the unhealthy, or not the unhealthy, but integrate the emotions that I'm feeling about all this sort of stuff and sort it all out. I really want to like share more about that sort of stuff in some videos too. By the way, just I don't know. I keep like I say that, but I haven't really gotten behind it and actually started sharing that kind of content. I feel like I could because it's going to help. But right now, I'm kind of focused on this little camper van life off-grid project video that I sort of have in mind, and I'm hoping I can actually get there and do it before I leave to go to Bali. So I'm trying to stay very on point with my schedule so I can share that stuff with you guys. Anyway, we'll do some of that other stuff at some point, because that like the personal health stuff's really something that I'm really passionate about. Anyway, hi Terry. Terry, old enough to be your granny. Haters hate their own life. You be you and enjoy your journey. Thank you, Terry. Cool. Oh, Mike McKinley. Hey, man. Good to see you in here. Definitely a long time. It's been over a year now since you've been on. Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think you're right. How's it going? Oh, thanks, Blue Boho Van. Good to see you in here. Not old wise. Thank you. How you doing? Yeah. Oh, Ramblin' Rocketeer, what's my plans for the summer? Love this question. So I'm gonna do. All right, so springtime. I'm gonna try to fit in a bunch of foraging stuff right now. So I'm getting the shop space organized at this point to be able to do that. I've got a couple sponsorships that have come up, which are pretty exciting. One of them is a paid sponsorship, which is good. I won't talk about them now, but that's the first time I get paid for something, which is pretty cool. So that's kind of like on my slate of things to do in the next little bit. The dive training course is one that I'm doing as well. I've got another course that I'm doing on the side. It's a course that's run by Lee Harris. So he's on YouTube. Some of you guys probably know what I'm talking about. But he does a bunch of like energy work and energy update sort of stuff. He's running a course right now for the month of April that I've signed up to. Thanks to my mom, actually. She basically paid for that one for me, so that was cool. So I'm doing some of that, the dive training stuff, and then I'm gonna go to Indo, to Bali. That's probably going to be right around mid-May. I've got to buy my tickets for that, hopefully within the week. That's tied into one of the sponsorship deals that I have too, so that I'm going to use that particular service to try and get a cheaper flight to go over there. And then I'm going to spend maybe a month to 6 weeks over there. I haven't been there before, so it's kind of like I need to spend a little bit of time there just to land and sort of feel the place out. And then I'll be coming back, and then I will be back into... There's probably going to be a little bit of foraging stuff happening still when I come back. It's going to die off pretty quick though, like in the early summer. And then at that point, I don't know. Like, I'll probably just enjoy some summer stuff. Check out the island, do some diving, that kind of thing. And then as the late summer rolls in, I'm going to do a bunch more foraging, because that's when all the fruiting stuff comes out, like the berries and stuff. And then mushrooms, and then hunting, and then that's kind of like the rough order of things. And then it's going to be back to Indonesia, hopefully by Christmas time. Go see my daughter again. And at that point, maybe I'll spend some more time over there. So we'll see. But I do want to get familiar with Bali this time around, and hopefully do some diving while I'm out there, and maybe set some stuff up. I'd really like to do some ocean exploration while I'm over there, and check out the countryside and that sort of stuff. Share it with you guys. Hopefully we can take all this channel and it'll be as interesting and all that stuff for you guys, and we keep growing, because that's the dream. That's the dream, is just to keep this alive so that I can grow my income from this channel and be able to support my lifestyle and going back and forth and seeing my daughter over there. Because otherwise, if I go over there, I don't have a lot of means to make money over there at this point. I don't have any contacts or any of that sort of stuff, and I don't want to go over there and start working at a job either. Like, I'm going over there to see my daughter, so I just want to be able to shoot videos and hang out. So and I've worked hard to create this lifestyle for me, and I'm going to keep working at it. And there's so much more that I want to share and do to give back more value to you guys as well. So that'll also be that whole van series videos that I'm going to be doing here hopefully soon, which I got to get working on actually. Anyway, yeah, thanks guys. Oh, Paul Sherman, thank you. Little something for your gas tank, bro. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. That's definitely gonna help for sure. Thank you. Yeah, thanks, man. I gotta catch a ferry soon and go across the mainland, so I'm spending $200 that I don't want to spend right now, but that's gonna help. Yeah. All right. Well, guys, I think I'm gonna wrap it up. I kind of need to move on with a few things here today, so I got work to do, and yeah, it's just nice to connect. I'm working on this next video for you, so I'm gonna edit it. It's gonna catch you up on like what I've done over the last couple weeks, so I'm trying to slam all that into one video so it's not too much of boring content, because it's just work stuff, mostly painting, like speed ramp painting, like real fast. But there's some really good content in the video that I sort of slow down for sections of it, so I'm kind of working on that one for you right now. I just didn't want to do like 3-4 videos back to back with a bunch of painting in it. That's why there was a little bit of a gap between the diving and why I did this, and why I'm going to share that, because that's going to eat up like 2 weeks of stuff in one video. And then after that, I think I don't know, like I got to go to Vancouver, but I really want to get out there and forage for some stinging nettles and dandelions right now, because that stuff's coming up. So anyway, guys, stay tuned. Lots of love to you. Thanks so much for hanging out, and wish you all a really wonderful weekend, week this week. Looking forward to connecting with you in the future. Much love, you guys. See you later. Appreciate all the love to you guys. Thanks so much for the super chats and just all the good comments. Love it. Bye for now.